Hello and welcome to Four Lads Weekly Podcast. My name is Stevie Clifford. I'm your host this week, and joining me is Mr. Andy McKellar. Andy, how are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Aye, thanks for having me on again, and plenty to catch up on.
Yeah, we've decided to pod tonight on a really positive weekend for Rangers, which we'll look back on. It's fair to say that we are feeling pretty good about things tonight, Andy.
Yeah, feeling good. Really important weekend, I think, in terms of the title race that we now definitely find ourselves in, and it kind of sets things up quite nicely as we start the second half of the season with some big games coming up. So, yeah, as you say, big weekend and something we can really look forward to.
Yeah, before we come to the results and what's actually happened this weekend, we'll focus a wee bit on the playing and stuff like that. When we look back at the transfer window, Andy, obviously Rangers done some good business. Fabio Silva arriving on loan from Wolves early on in the window, and then followed up by Mohamed Diamande arriving for 4.5 million fee loan obligation in the summer, if you like, from Nordsjælland in Denmark. I had to stop there before I tried to pronounce that one. And then just right at the end, Oscar Cortez also arriving on loan. So I feel like we've done some good business. I feel like the three that have came in will really settle in and hopefully play a big part. Obviously not seen Diamandi yet. Fabio Silva's beginning to settle with his first goal at the weekend, which we'll come to. Diamandi's obviously, when you think about that kind of fee that Rangers are obliged to pay in the summer, that's a big outlay for us, but it's an exciting one. And then Cortez is somebody that has got a lot of promise and a lot of good stats at the under 20s and things like that. What's your feeling around the transfer window?
I think going into it, my expectations weren't too high. I think both the manager and the board sat at the AGM and sort of downplayed it a wee bit. I think they just weren't wanting fans to get too carried away with thinking, we're just going to go and splash, millions of pounds and bring in so many players, because realistically, that's not going to happen. But I think Silva coming in early was a big boost. We needed a striker. We knew that with Danilo being out. And we can just, we're just starting to see now what he can do. I thought against Livingston, I know he said he wasn't a nine, but I think he played more like a nine against Livingston than he had in his previous games. He was in about the box a bit more, while still doing some excellent link-ups. So you can see the quality there and the touch and the movement. So, getting him in early was good. But I think that perhaps raised the expectations a wee bit. But, then we go out and bring in Diomande, and as you say, that's a significant fee for us, even if it's coming in the summer. But I think the key thing there is you can't always control when these deals come up. If a player's available, you maybe can't wait to the summer because you get so many other offers then. So, we've went in, got the deal done, identified him as something we need, and it'll be really interesting to see what he brings, because I think just looking at the sort of profile, he's something a bit different to the players we've got in there at the moment. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he fits in. And Cortez, in terms of him, brief cameo against Livingston, we saw wee bits of what he can do. But I think it was just good to get him on the park, let him experience the home stadium, and he'll slowly start working his way in. I hope, as you say, young lad, plenty of promise there. So it'll be interesting to see how he develops. I think the one thing, of course, fans did speak about at the end of the window was not getting in a striker, not getting in a number 9. And I think the number 9 most people wanted in was Lawton Shankland, of course. On that deal, comes down to the player, the club, the money they wanted, the money we've got, all these sorts of things. But I think if you look at the window overall, are we stronger at the end of it than we were at the start? Yep, I would say we were. So, in that point, I think we can be positive.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair point. It's something I was going to ask you, and something I feel that there was a huge clamour for a striker, and I must admit I was in that clamour as well. I think that we are short up front, but it seems pretty clear to me that that's not a view shared by the manager. He spoke about it, and he seems to feel that it's actual chance creation and quality of chance that we need to get better at doing. Now, the brief kind of cameos we've seen of Fabio Silva so far, and then Saturday's match seemed to me that he's more of a link up and a creator, so he's going to create chances. You look at Cortez coming in, ideally as a winger, fast, pacey. He's got some end product that we know about from his stats at his time at Millonarios and then the Under-20 World Cup. He's not got so much of a chance at Lens, but he has played 40 minutes and got an assist and a goal. He's obviously somebody that they're going to bring in, or we're going to bring in and hope is going to do that as well. And then there's Diamande, who's a left-sided midfielder, more of an 8 than a 6. He likes to attack, he likes to carry the ball, he likes to make the difference in the final third. So that would indicate to me that maybe the manager doesn't feel like the striking options are an absolute priority for us. And that's interesting for me because I would say that we create a lot, but maybe don't have anybody to get on the end of them. And then there's the other argument where I think that Clement is, where we don't create enough clear-cut opportunities, which is an interesting view. Where are you on this?
A bit like yourself, I do think we did need a striker. I mean, I think if we'd have brought in Shankland or somebody similar, I don't think there'd have been too many fans disappointed with that. I think we do need a goal scorer in there. I think purely because you just want somebody you can rely on to bang in, 10, 15 goals, whatever it is between now and the end of the season. But having said that, we've all been at games where we've struggled to, low block. We haven't created much. We're kind of struggling to play through them. So, there's no good having a guy like Shankland in the box if you're not giving him any chances or you're just throwing crosses into the box. So hopefully that's where, maybe Stevie and Andy comes in, because we don't really have a number 8 anywhere. You've got Jack, Lundstrom, Raskin probably that plays a 6. Raskin can play as an 8, but I'm not sure he's really the creative type. So, and we'll see what Cortez brings to the table as well, because we'll lose out a fair bit on Sima. He brings a lot of goals and he's in the box and causing danger. So I think it's one of those ones, as you say, the manager's maybe falling down on one side of the argument, or maybe it's just come down to player availability. But I think if we're creating more chances, we're bound to take enough of them, I think, in most of the games. I think even with Dessers, you've seen lately, he scored a fair number of goals, scored some really good goals as well. So hopefully if the chance creation goes up, which is something we have had problems with in the past, we can benefit from that and start sticking a few more goals in.
Yeah, it's all fair. It's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. But that takes us nicely, obviously, to the matches and to Rangers' recent form. They came back after the winter break and went to Dumbarton and won that game 4-1. I was quite pleased with that. I thought it was a decent performance in a very horrible pitch and tricky conditions. The weather was atrocious. We've come unstuck at times before, Andy, so I felt like that was a good one to come back and kind of set a tempo for.
Yeah, it's one of those no-win games, isn't it? You've just got to get it done, and as you say, difficult conditions, some new players coming in and all that sort of stuff. We did well to get the goals. You'd be a bit sticky at times with the conditions and the play, but no, I think that was a good performance and a good win, as you say, into the hat and into the next round. That's kind of all you can do in those sort of games.
Yeah, I agree. And then we followed it up quite nicely with a 3-0 victory at Easter Road, and I was really impressed with that one because that could have been a difficult game. And now we know that Hibs have subsequently followed it up with a bit of a hiding at the weekend at home to St Mirren. But I think they're a capable side, and going to Easter Road is always difficult. We created a barrel load of chances. Jack's had a good save as well in there, but we scored 3 good goals, and then we've taken that into St Mirren and produced a different kind of performance, which gave me a whole lot of confidence, because that's 3 away games on the bounce after the break, where the potential for a banana skin is always there from Rangers returning after a kind of winter break, and we've done that really well. And it feels to me, even before this weekend, it felt to me like that we were building up a head of momentum and a kind of head of steam. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that's the key thing, is that the winter break hasn't, killed us in any way. We've carried the momentum that we ended the season with, ended the first half of the season with, into the second half. And as you say, games like Easter Road, St Mirren, 2 very different games, but we've come out with the points, we've come out with clean sheets, and there just doesn't seem to be any panic there at the moment. We're just going about our business. Even missed Goldson at Easter Road, and rotated the squad a bit for St Mirren, a game where we really had to dig in and grind it out, but we got there again, difficult conditions. So no, I think there's a lot to be positive about the way we've started the second half of the season, and those 2 sort of different games, I think, showed 2 different sides to the team that they can do well.
What really impressed me, or what, maybe not impressed me, that's not the right word, but what really satisfied me was the reaction, not only to last weekend, but to the performance and on social media. There wasn't a panic, there wasn't a slating the team. It was more of a sense of, right, we found a different way to win today. That's a good win at St Mirren. Really awful windy conditions. Pitch wasn't great, and we've come away and won that 1-0. The manager spoke a lot about the synergy returning, and he spoke again about it after Livingston at the weekend. It feels like people are being a wee bit more patient. and it feels like there's a lot more trust in this team now.
Yeah, as you were saying, I was just about to quote that as well. The manager's comments at the weekend there, and the fans can see, what he's trying to build. They can see there's a squad there that's working for the manager. They can see what the manager's trying to do and that we're going in the right direction. So as you say, when you get a sticky game against St Mirren where it's not pretty, you get away with a 1-0 win. Fans can fans are happy with that. They can sit back and say, do you know what? It's one of those games that we really had to dig it out. You maybe don't get away with that when things aren't going so well. As you say, people are maybe waiting to jump on the backs of the players or the manager or whoever. But no, I think it speaks volumes for where we've gone under Clement, what he's done with the squad at the moment, and probably where the fans think we are at the moment, that there hasn't been that reaction. And even at the weekend there, the crowd were right behind the team. And there was obviously that, an opportunity there to close the gap, which was important. But, there wasn't panic. They just stayed behind the team until we got the first goal. And then, that's maybe something we've not seen in the past, and certainly not in the first half of the season.
Yep, and I think that's very important. And it brings us to the weekend. Obviously, Celtic were up first to go to Pittodrie. We're all expecting it to be pretty much the way it always is when they play. However, much to my surprise, certainly Aberdeen managed to get a draw. And before we had even kicked off, Ibrox was feeling, positive. We go about Saturday's business well. It was a very comfortable afternoon. Livingston on goal, not even on target, on goal. And I think that's the first time in a long time that's ever happened. And they were fairly easily dispatched. It was 3-0, Andy, and then it became a bit more of a training match. Rangers maybe took their foot off it a wee bit, but they knocked it about really well at times. Good passing, good movement, good kind of attacking play. We saw Cortez get a wee cameo. There was lots of positives in there. And of course, this means the gap's now 3 points with Rangers still in that game in hand. And considering the mess that Clement has inherited when he first came in, there's a real good factor about this team at the moment. And it's fair to say that a lot of people now believe, myself included, that we're in this title race.
Yeah, there absolutely is. And, I think at the weekend, these are the kind of games we've fallen short in the past. Games where we've had an opportunity to go and close the gap or get closer to Celtic, and we just haven't done it. The pressure, whatever it is, the team just hasn't been up to it. So, although it was only Livingston, a game we should win, the fact that we did it so comfortably, as you say, they didn't even have a shot on target at all. At goal, never mind on target. And yeah, as you say, turned into a training match, got some players on. But the thing that impressed me was even at 2 and 3-0, we kept the tempo high. We kept actually pushing, I think, to try and get that 4th or 5th. It was only really the last 15 minutes, I think, maybe when the atmosphere calmed down a wee bit, that we kind of took our foot off the gas and just started knocking the ball about. But no, it was really encouraging. And I suppose the big test now is, Clement said it in the past, is confirmation. Can we go and follow up on Tuesday? That's now the big question.
And that indeed takes us nicely to Tuesday. And the big question is this a title challenge or is it a false dawn? It feels to me like this is a title challenge. It feels to me like this is a different Rangers side under Philip Clement. And I'll point to a couple of factors in that. Not only are they getting results maybe when they're not playing well, so St Mirren at Paisley, for example, but they're getting results at grounds where maybe they haven't before in these races. And not only that, there's been such a turnaround in player form, Andy. I think that's massive. When you consider the upscale in performances of Ridvan Yilmaz, John Lundstrom, I think that's been massive. Todd Cantwell's starting to find some form, and Cyril Dessers has went from a guy that's been booed off to a guy that they're now singing his name in the stands. And I think that speaks volumes for the kind of calibre of manager that we have and the direction that we're going in. And that gives me faith that this isn't a false dawn, but this is actually, for the first time in several years, a proper title race. And it feels like Rangers are not only in it, but have the momentum, because although we don't like to speak about them and concentrate on them at all, it kind of feels like they're at the point where they're desperate to fail so that they can just tear each other apart. They're against their board. The manager's not exactly flavour of the month. And I feel like that a couple more results either way in Rangers' favour, that they might be in the situation where they were a couple of years ago when Rangers went to 55. Is that fair?
I think in terms of the title challenge being real, absolutely. You go back to when Philip Clement was appointed, we were 7 points behind. And you spoke there, Stevie, about momentum. That shows you the momentum and what way it has been going since the manager came in. So, as you say, they've kind of been struggling a bit. We've been marching on, we've been winning games. And I'll be interested to see how they react, because they've not had any pressure for a while. And when we won the league, we didn't have it either. All the leagues have been won at a canter, really. So it will be interesting to see how both teams handle it now. And as you say, we've just got to keep turning the screw now. We've got Tuesday night and then into the cup game. We just need to keep winning and seeing where that leaves us. Because as you say, the momentum, I think, at the moment is with us. But we've got to carry that. We've got to keep it going over the next few games. And, you don't want to be hitting a speed bump too early the minute you get close to them, because it just gives them that wee bit of belief again that actually, we've not got it in us to challenge, because that's what's happened in the past. Anytime we've got close round about Christmas time, or just before or just after, we've had one bad result and it's bled into 2 or 3. But I think things do feel different under this manager. I think under Clement, there is a guy there who's won leagues before, who's been over the course, and as you said, with Ridvan, Lundstrom, Cantwell, Dessers, he's improving these players, and I think he's getting the most out of the squad. I mean, you only have to look at how much of a rotated squad he had out at the weekend, and you go and win 3-0 comfortably. So, I think the manager is what really gives you belief this time that, we're in a real title race, and perhaps, as you say, the momentum is with us and we can just edge forward a bit now.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to end this podcast. And I will say one thing. On Saturday, Rabbi Matondo said that Philip Clement has got everyone believing in this building, and we only take it a game at a time, but everybody's on side and thinking only about Rangers. Philip Clement's made a believer out of me, that's for sure. Andy, thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks, Stevie. Thanks again.